In this series, we have endeavored to answer why Bitcoin is worth your attention and investment. For every person educating themselves on Bitcoin, there are millions of other people watching cat videos and filling their minds with nothing that will help them create a better future for themselves. Those who chose to continue to invest their time in education content such as this series will have a more solid foundation of understanding for the future of finance that is fast approaching. In the first episode, we sought to explain why Bitcoin is the new gold. We discussed how in 2009, Bitcoin's founder Satoshi Nakamoto brought online a revolutionary new technology that creates units of digital scarcity that can be traded like gold. We discussed how Bitcoin was superior not only to gold in every needed attribute of good currency, but its supremacy also extends above all existing fiat currencies, including the US dollar in all attributes but one way. That last attribute that gold and the US dollar still have going for them is the fact that Bitcoin is not yet adopted as widely as gold or the dollar. But in all other ways, the argument can easily be made that Bitcoin is supreme in durability, portability, divisibility, uniformity, and limited supply. So in episode 1, we made the comparison between Bitcoin and gold, but gold is still so much more tangible than Bitcoin, right? Well, at first glance, it might seem that way, but in reality, Bitcoin is actually more tangible than you might think. In episode 2, we traveled back in time to explore the inventions that made America what it is today, like trains, computers, and iPhones. These are all inventions that you can go out and touch if you wanted to. We showed you how the true meaning of tangibility is not actually the ability to touch and feel a product, but rather you are the key aspect of what makes things tangible. How a thing affects reality is what truly defines tangibility. So while Bitcoin is well on its way to becoming tangible to you, one thing to keep in mind is its volatility. Bitcoin is a pretty volatile asset, and in episode 3 of this series, we dive into some of the reasons why it is so volatile and some new ways that you can think about volatility. We talked about how Bitcoin is volatile not only because of how young it is, but also due to it being an asset built on new technology, its attractive nature to inexperienced traders, its halving cycles, influencers, and media coverage. Watching the third episode of this series will give you a good idea of how Bitcoin can be challenging for inexperienced investors to hold in their portfolio, but through proper research and navigation, it's well worth the effort. One of the ways Bitcoin has been volatile in the past was related to concerns about Bitcoin's impact on the climate. Bitcoin can be earned through a proof of work process that uses a lot of energy to operate. In episode 4 of this series, we explore discussions surrounding a 2018 article that was the origin of much of the climate-related fears over Bitcoin. We also compare the energy needed to operate the US dollar versus Bitcoin before taking a look into some of the ways that Bitcoin community is evolving to make Bitcoin compatible with the Earth's climate so that it can be sustainable into the distant future. Then from world affairs, we brought our focus back down to the personal finances of someone who may be watching this series to show that Bitcoin is still very much affordable. The core truth of that episode is that Bitcoin can be purchased in a smaller increment so that anyone can afford to buy Bitcoin. We also broke down some of the wise buying plans and showed how profitable a Bitcoin investment can be over a 10-year time span. We hope you enjoyed this series and that you learned something you did not know before to help you make a decision on whether or not Bitcoin has a place in your own investment portfolio. The next step is to share this series with all of your friends and family so that they too can experience the freeing power of Bitcoin.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, you should definitely consider subscribing because we're trying to help you become financially free in these cryptocurrency markets. And also, consider following us on Twitter @CryptoJeb for more updates on the price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Peace.